The people who look like they're losing in their 20s sometimes end up becoming the person everyone studies in their 40s. I'm talking about the kind of person who can't fake it for long, the one who can do small talk, but it feels like wearing someone else's jacket. The one who gets told, "You're so smart," and still feels like they're failing at being human. They don't move in packs. They don't copy the blueprint. They're the friend who disappears for a while, not because they don't care, but because their inner world is loud and it demands honesty. Maybe this is you. Maybe you've watched people your age hit milestones like their speed-running life, career, relationship, social life, confidence and certainty, while you're stuck in a slower lane trying to figure out why success tastes like cardboard when it's not aligned. And the confusing part is, you're not doing nothing. You're thinking, you're feeling, you're processing. You're rebuilding yourself in private, then wondering why the world doesn't clap for inner work. Here's the tension nobody names. If your personality is rare, your environment probably isn't built for you. And when you're rare, you get misunderstood before you get understood. Early life rewards quick adaptation. Pick a role, play it well, fit into a system, learn the rules, and become useful. But some people aren't built to become useful first. They're built to become real first. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who basically gave language to the inner world in a way that still shakes people awake, talked about something called individuation, the long process of becoming who you actually are, not who your family, culture, or fear trained you to be. Jung didn't treat the soul like a cute metaphor. He treated it like a real psychological force that will push back if you ignore it. Individuation has a cost early on because it makes you less compatible with the crowd. If you're the type who can sense the unspoken stuff, power games, fake niceness, the say the right thing energy, then you also sense that you're expected to trade truth for belonging. And when you don't make that trade, people read you as difficult, intense, too sensitive, hard to reach, or full of yourself, even when you're just trying to stay sincere. So you learn to wear a persona. Jung used that word to describe the social mask we develop to function. The issue isn't having a persona. The issue is living inside it. If you're rare in temperament, your persona tends to be extra polished because you've had to translate yourself your whole life. You become good at looking fine while feeling unreal. And that can lead to a very specific kind of exhaustion, not burnout from work, but burnout from performing a version of you that doesn't match your insides. And here's the twist that messes with people. Early success can be a trap for the rare type. If you get rewarded for the mask, grades, praise, attention, being the calm one, or being the gifted one, you might build a whole identity on what wins approval. Then, one day, your nervous system starts protesting. Anxiety spikes, motivation drops. You feel numb or restless, or like you're wasting your life even when nothing is wrong. That isn't you being defective. That's your deeper self asking for a truer life. Let me ask you something that's personal, and if it hits, share it in the comments so you know you're not alone. Have you ever felt like your life is fine, but your inner world is quietly begging for a different timeline? Because the late bloom doesn't come from magic. It comes from a hidden task. And the hidden task is this. You're not here to master the game first. You're here to master yourself first. And that is inconvenient to the world around you, because early life is basically one long audition. Family systems reward the version of you that keeps things stable. Schools reward the version of you that repeats the right answers. Workplaces reward the version of you that fits the culture. And social circles reward the version of you that keeps things light, smooth, and easy. But the rare personality, especially the one Jung wrote about through the lens of individuation, doesn't get peace from fitting in. It gets peace from aligning. That changes everything, because alignment forces you to notice what you've been doing to earn love. The role you took, the mask you polished, and the parts of you you tucked away because they weren't convenient. Jung's big contribution here is the idea that the psyche isn't just what you're aware of. There's the personal unconscious, your repressed memories, the traits you learned were unacceptable, and there's a deeper layer he called the collective unconscious, filled with patterns humans keep repeating across time. That sounds mystical, but it shows up in very everyday ways. You keep dating the same kind of person, you keep choosing the same kind of job, you keep replaying the same inner argument, like your life is on a loop. But the loop isn't a curse, it's a curriculum. And the hardest subject in that curriculum is the shadow, the parts of you you disowned to survive. Not bad parts, just exiled parts. Your anger that you were trained to swallow, your ambition that made other people uncomfortable, your softness that didn't feel safe, your power that got punished, even your sensitivity that got labeled as a problem. When you're young, you can survive by banishing those parts and leaning on the persona. You can even achieve a lot like that. But there's a price. You start living half a life. Here's why rejection comes early. When you stop living half a life, you become less predictable. People like predictability. Predictability makes them feel safe. The rare type starts questioning things that everyone else treats as normal. They don't just ask, how do I win? They ask, what am I becoming while I win? That question makes some people defensive, not because you did something wrong, but because you accidentally hold up a mirror. In modern psychology terms, this can look like a clash between your internal needs and external validation. Self-determination theory says humans need autonomy, competence, and relatedness to thrive. The late bloomer tends to prioritize autonomy and meaning early, while the world pushes relatedness and status. If you chase belonging by betraying yourself, your mind and body start sending signals. Anxiety, numbness, procrastination that isn't really procrastination. It's resistance to a life that doesn't match your truth. Attachment plays a role too. If you grew up having to earn closeness, being the good kid, the achiever, the peacekeeper, you may be hyper-aware of other people's moods. That makes you talented at reading a room and terrible at reading your own needs. The hidden task becomes reparenting yourself, learning that love doesn't require you to disappear. Spiritually, this is the initiation phase. Traditions call it different things: the dark night of the soul, the descent, and the wilderness. It's the season where your old identity stops working, but your new one isn't fully built yet. From the outside, it looks like delay. From the inside, it's construction. Higher consciousness doesn't arrive as permanent bliss. It arrives as honesty. The moment you stop lying to yourself, your life starts rearranging. That rearrangement can cost you certain friends, certain paths, and certain versions of success. And later, it returns something better, a life that feels like yours. So when you spend your early years doing shadow work, whether you call it therapy, healing, spiritual awakening, self-inquiry, or just getting real with yourself, you're building something most people postpone until life forces it. You're building an inner foundation. And foundations don't look impressive while they're being poured. They look slow, like nothing is happening. Meanwhile, someone else is decorating a house with no structure and getting applause for it. But the psyche keeps receipts. Jung's point about individuation is that wholeness creates energy, not hype energy, clean energy. When your inner parts stop fighting each other, when the exiled parts come home, your life stops leaking power through anxiety, people-pleasing, overthinking, and self-betrayal. That reclaimed power shows up as momentum. You become consistent without forcing it. You become decisive without needing everyone's approval. You start choosing from self-respect, not from fear. And that's where the magnetic later thing comes from. People think charisma is confidence. It's not. It's congruence. It's when your words match your eyes, your choices match your values, and your boundaries match your self-worth. You stop performing goodness and start living truth. That frequency is felt. You walk into rooms without begging the room to accept you, and ironically, that's when acceptance shows up. Here's another twist. Early rejection teaches discernment. When you've been misunderstood, you stop chasing crowds. You learn to build your world around quality connections, not quantity validation. You stop needing to be liked by everyone because you've already survived not being liked. That makes you emotionally free. And emotionally free people tend to succeed because they take smarter risks. They create, they innovate. They don't fold every time someone disapproves. So how do you stop wasting years trying to force an early timeline? First, stop using other people's milestones as your measuring tape. That's a recipe for self-hate disguised as motivation. Second, treat your sensitivity like data, not a flaw. If your nervous system rejects a path, listen. Third, build your life around your real energy, not your should energy. The rare type doesn't win by grinding harder, they win by aligning deeper. And here's the practical part. Nobody says out loud, pick one container for your gifts. A craft, a body of work, a practice, a path you can pour yourself into for 2 years without needing instant proof. Your late bloom needs consistency more than intensity. Let it be boring sometimes. Let it be slow. That is how roots grow. If you've ever felt like you're running on a different clock than everyone else, what's one thing you wish people understood about you, but you rarely say out loud? Drop it in the comments. You might say the exact sentence someone else needed today. And if this video made you feel seen or helped you make sense of your own timeline, subscribe to Fractal Wisdom. We're building a space here for deep minds, soft hearts, and real growth. No pretending, no performing. Your timing isn't wrong. It's just yours.